Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy to still see quite a lot of energized people at 8 o'clock in the evening, Friday evening, so I don't take that for granted. Thank you for being here and having me. The title of my presentation is Entrepreneurship is my favorite sport, and I actually, being a sporty guy, I also look entrepreneurship as kind of a sport because at the end of the day, it's about competition. It's about trying to win. I think if you don't want to win, you will never make it. Who am I? I'm a computer scientist by education, so I have 2 master's degrees, one in computer science with specialization in artificial intelligence. I studied that 30 years ago, where the shit actually didn't work, but we put together a nice theory to make machines learn already 30 years ago. And I remember my professor, one of the pioneers of artificial intelligence, Marvin Minsky, said, you should not be studying artificial intelligence, you should study common sense. There are less people studying common sense than artificial intelligence nowadays. This was 30 years ago. Today you have the hype. And an economist, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm actually more than this, I'm an addict. I just can't stop. After 3 exits, people were expecting me to enjoy life at the beach. I'm enjoying life, creating great companies, solving great problems. I'm an enthusiastic pianist since I'm 5 years old. I never gave up. Originally, I intended to become a jazz pianist and go to study in Berkeley, but my parents couldn't afford it, so I went studying math, which turned out to be also not a bad decision. I'm a proud father of 2 daughters, one 27, the other 10 years old, with the same wife. I'm a car enthusiast, as I said. I'm a car nerd. We never had a car in our family when I was a child. My parents couldn't afford it. We never had a TV. We didn't have even central heating, but I had a small Lamborghini Miura in green like this, which was my favorite toy, and I was dreaming of having that car once in real. I have it now. These are my portfolio companies. As I said, I exited the first 3. Avaloq, which became one of the largest wealth management technologies in the world, sold that 3 years ago for $2.5 billion. And the other 2 companies where I were leading them or a coach of the founders, very early stage. So I have created an exit value over $3 billion. So I am sort of a unicorn breeder. And I hope that there are more to come. 3 were successful, another 10 companies are still in my portfolio. So all startups, most of them not yet profitable, still burning money, but the profitability is in sight. It's a portfolio value right now of roughly $4.4 billion. It was over 8 last year, but as you know, the markets collapsed, so private markets are in difficult situations. Valuations came down sharply, so welcome on the ground of reality. That's actually something I think is sound, because it disciplines the entrepreneurs to think of the customer and don't believe that companies can be financed forever by investors. Sound companies are financed mid and long term by customers. And this will only work if you create value at the customer. Raising 300 million in today's times is a challenge, I can tell you. It's a 16-hour day still at my age. It's a challenge, but that's sports. What I want to share with, there are hopefully also a lot of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs in the audience, and I wanted to share a couple of learnings that I have learned the hard way throughout my career, and today are the 5 most important topics I look at before I would engage or invest in any company. First and foremost is the purpose. Some of you might know Simon Sinek. He's a great teacher, speaker, keynote speaker, teaching actually leadership. His father was a Navy SEALs, and he learned also a lot about leadership from his father. And he has invented a concept called the golden circle, 3 concentric circles. The innermost circle says why. and then comes the how, and then comes the what. Traditional companies communicate from the outer circle to the inner circle. So most companies know what they do, some know how they do it, but they have forgotten why they do it. Great companies communicate the other way around. From the core, why, how the French says, la raison d'être, why does your company even exist? And from then, how and what. I encourage you to read or to listen to Simon Sinek, at least on YouTube, about the golden circle. For me, this is important because having a purpose is the core of your business and is inspirational for everybody, for your employees, for yourself, for communication, for investors, for customers. So I always ask, is there a clear purpose? Do they know what problem they solve? Secondly, I'm not interested in smaller problems, because what I love about these sports is the intellectual challenge. The more difficult it is to solve it or to fulfill the needs, there are wants, but the larger the problem, the more you can create value for society or even humanity. Of course, you can make money with a kebab truck or a taco truck. That would not be my favorite investment target. But for example, to cure uncurable diseases, there are still 600 cancer types in the world. One of my companies tries to go new approaches with big tech and artificial intelligence to solve the problem of curing cancers or big neurological diseases. So the scale is important to me. Of course, a large problem asks for a hyperscalable solution. And if you have that, then it's worth for me engaging. The third thing which is important to me is a business model. And to have a good business model means for me that you understand how value is created at the customer. And what do you source, what do you partner with, what do you build? And last but not least, once you know that, how do you translate that into dollars? I think dollar can never be a motivation or a vision. If a company tells me my vision is to become a unicorn, this is no vision. Everybody wants to be a unicorn. A vision is a purpose of the value you create, and the business model still needs to understand how do you create value and how do you transform value into money, because money or cash is the fuel for the company to realize your dreams, to execute on your purpose. It's not the goal, it's a means. You can have the strongest engine, the best car. If you run out of fuel, you die. You never win the race. Then sound financing. I have seen great companies fail and die just because they forgot to look at macroeconomics or about their liquidity and fall into a liquidity trap. I've seen companies making hundreds of millions of dollars revenues, being even profitable, fall into liquidity trap and die. So please build a strong finance function in your startup and in your company, preserve it, because it's about not getting out of fuel during the race. And last but not least, probably my most favorite, it's about leadership. And leadership, it's about people. Only people make successful companies. Technologies come and go, money can come and go, can be abundant or can be a little bit constrained, but it's always about the people. And it's about trust. Trust made us survive as a species. We are together in herds, and if you face a tiger or a mammoth, you want to be able to know who you trust and how he can help you survive. In that sense, leadership is also something which you seldomly see at startups, because you don't learn that from books and you don't learn that at university. You are good at something, at maths or at coding, whatever, you find yourself in a CEO position, you are not responsible for the code anymore, you are only responsible for people that are responsible of the code or of the product or of the sales. But people don't learn what leadership is. It's a skill set and it needs exercise and training like any other skill set. So please, instead of just coming out of university, make a unicorn, learn leadership by searching a mentor, searching a great leader, and learn from him. So these were the couple of points I wanted to share with you about what I call success factors for entrepreneurial success. One example is I think my youngest company, Racing Unleashed. What is it about? I want to start with a small video here to inspire you a little bit about the topic. So let's talk about Racing Unleashed. Here are a couple of inspirational pictures. What is important here is, again, it's about the people. What is the vision of Racing Unleashed? The absolute highest elite sports in the world, and by far the most expensive sports in the world, is motorsports. If you think that golf is an elite sport or tennis or something like that, forget about it. It's peanuts compared to the cost of being in physical motorsport. If you're a 5-year-old girl or guy that wants to go into motorsport, they start with karting. To finance a karting year is between 50,000 euros and 100,000 euros a year. So which daddy can afford this? If you go to the lowest GT class, GT4, it's 200 to 300,000 euros. A Formula One guy, to be able to sit in a seat of a Formula One car, the driver has to deliver $25 million, put it on the table every year. That's why only 20 athletes can do that. Which raised the question to me, do we really have the best drivers in this absolute king class of motorsport? Probably not. If you look at another mass sport, for example, soccer, football, the biggest talents come from the favelas in Brazil. But they don't need money. They need a round leather and a piece of land, and you're a soccer player. Can these people access Formula One? Never in their lives. So, looking at the technology of simulators, and actually my insurance broker came to me one day saying, I have bought a simulator, 120,000 euros. It's too expensive for me. Fernandez, can you help me to finance this by setting up a small gaming center in Cham? I said, what the fuck, no. I'm interested in, multi-billion-dollar problems. To have a small booth in Cham, no, but let me think about it. So I made a mistake. I visited the manufacturer in Maranello, which was a spin-off of Ferrari Formula One team engineers, making this beautiful piece of technology, this simulator. You will see one outside here in our booth. And when I saw that, I said, oh my gosh, I fell in love with this thing. And my problem was now, how do I create a big problem out of this? So I tried to multiply this by 10,000. And then I said, you know what? I'm gonna democratize Formula One. I'm gonna make a mass sport out of the most brutal elite sport in the world. I'm going to make motorsport accessible to normal people. And that's what we wanted to do. Accessible, digital, risk-free. You need a lot of testosterone to sit in a Formula One car and risk your life. That's why we don't have girls in Formula One. But on the simulator, it's gender neutral. You don't need testosterone. You don't need to be stupid to risk your life. You can do it on a simulator and run at 340 kilometers per hour without risk of dying. So it's digital, it's safe, it's carbon neutral. It is a sport. Sit in that thing for 15 minutes, you come out completely sweaty. And we want to guarantee fair play because we want to make it a sport. And I had to make sure that, is that financeable? Can that be a real business model? The answer is yes. The gaming industry is a $260 billion industry growing at double-digit growth rates. esports or motorsports is being a fraction of it, but it's already today a $5.4 billion industry, which is larger than the Formula One, and is growing to $22 or above billion by 2030. So it's the right place to be. Artificial intelligence is becoming the next big disruptive thing, which will change our societies and everybody's lives. I compare it to the invention of the combustion engine that started the Industrial Revolution, because 200 years ago, 90% of all of us would have been farmers. And the invention of the engine has made us industrial, but replaced muscle forces and reduced our working day. A farmer has a 16-hour working day to 8 hours. AI will do the same again. They will replace that white-collar work and reduce our working day from 8 hours to 3. What do we do with all these spare time? If you have youngsters, especially young men with enough testosterone, without anything to do, you have wars. So let's replace wars by sports and entertainment. So that's a big investment for the future, and we are absolutely in the right place at the right time. The how do we position ourselves? What is our USP? There are racing games you do with your mobile phone. This is the steering wheel, and you do like this. There is even soccer, FIFA. In digital, in gaming, you play soccer like this. Believe me, you will never play for Barcelona or Real Madrid if you do like that. But in that world, in the motorsport world, you can make simulators that bring you 90 to 95% equal to the real car feeling and skill. The training effect is just overwhelming. I have done this. I raced real cars up to LMP2 level, and what you can train and learn in the simulator is just amazing. 90% of what you feel in the real car, the whole skills you can learn there at the fraction 1,000 or 10,000 times cheaper. And if you are as talented as you believe you are, and you have brought the sacrifice of training 10,000 hours, then you can still transfer to the physical world if you wish so, but you don't need to, because I believe that digital sports will even become bigger than physical sports, while physical sports will hopefully never end, because at the end we have a body and we are humans. But there will be a potential transfer between the digital sport and the physical sport. What you see here, the name of lounge, I can only guarantee fairness if I can control the equipment, that everybody is playing at level playing field, the same parameters, the same hardware, the same software, exactly the same, that we can really compete with the human skills. That we can ensure by putting lounges everywhere, and you will see some pictures of lounges. These are environments where we put 10 to 20 simulators where people can come, train, compete. And we can interconnect lounges globally distributed to cope for large international races. To test the talent on the physical car, I bought myself a racetrack. So this is my private racetrack in southern Spain, where we bring the best talents of the virtual racing on the physical racing. Today, Racing Unleashed in numbers is a startup, 50 employees, 1.2 million streams. We have races every month that we stream out on channels like Twitch, YouTube, and other channels, hopefully later on TV. We have built already more than 100 simulators in beautiful Maranello, just opposite the road of Ferrari factory. We have 13,000 visitors. I have invested myself 50 million of my own cash into this venture. So before we start Series A, I want to be 100 million in valuation. Half of it comes from myself. We have built 6 lounges. We collect at every minute of a race session 720,000 data points. So it's a big data problem. And the prize pool I finance is already 200,000 Swiss francs, which makes us one of the largest gaming prize pools in Europe, especially in this environment. Fast forward to 2026, a global presence, 200 racing lounges. I want to go from 20 athletes in Formula One to 200,000 athletes in Racing Unleashed, and 10 million viewers on Twitch. That's what I would call then success. Some impressions. This is our racing lounge in Munich with 10 simulators. This is the racing lounge in Kemptal, I think 5 minutes from here. This is our Formula One simulator, which we manufacture and created ourselves. This is the rear view. It's standing outside. You can even test it. A real world Formula One steering wheel with all the controls. This is the GT simulator for simulating Porsches and other GT cars, the likes. And we also constructed classic car simulator for high-value car collectors that they can exercise and drive their cars and share the passion with their friends without damaging the $50 million classic car. This is a design from Pininfarina. We have also constructed one with Zagato with a very elegant cockpit. This is the Zagato classic car simulator. This is another business line we have. Knowing how to build such world-class simulators, the best ultra-hypercars like a Bugatti Bolide, a McLaren Solus, or a Pagani Huayra R will be delivered with a simulator of us. Because you are not going to race a $7 million car and damage that car. There are only 20 units worldwide. You will go to the limits on the simulator and just have fun and be careful with a real car. It's too expensive. This costs only $200,000. So, what do you take with you? Or what would I like to take with me? Join me. If you're a talent, if you're an ambitious guy, if you're an investor, if you're a customer, and are interested in one of these things, join me. Co-invest with me. We are hiring. You find me either on my LinkedIn account or through the email here, ff@4bcapital.com. That's it. Thank you for listening.